I'm going to take this hike. I'm a little bit nervous about rattlesnakes. So I'm going to keep my eyes peeled. I like wide trails like this. I was going through some of my first aid kit yesterday, and I forgot that I have a snake venom kit, you know, where you can suction out the venom. But I suppose you need to have it on you to use, and I don't have it with me, of course. But we'll just take it slow. I don't know if I'll make it all the way out. This is about almost a mile. But this is the time that rattlesnakes would be out on the trail sunning themselves, so keep my eyes peeled. Very pretty. The cinder cones are everywhere. The pink color that they get, so pretty here in Lassen County. I think this is Lassen County. No, Modoc County. I was just thinking, here I'm doing a trail that there's nobody really around. I'm out here on my own, pretty much. So if something were to happen, it gets a little more challenging. Thankfully, I have 2 bars of Verizon service out here, so I could call for help. So that's why I feel more comfortable hiking this trail right now by myself. But yeah, inherently when you're hiking by yourself, it's more risky, for sure. Even hiking with a dog would be probably a little better, because I've heard of stories of dogs fetching help when their guardian, gets hurt. So even a dog would help in a situation, but I'm completely by myself. So it definitely carries more risk. But I am in a national park not very far from the visitor center, so help could come very quickly. I'm sure I'd be fine. This is a little trail, yesterday I had so many stickers in my shoes and socks. Still finding them 24 hours later. I don't want to walk through those stickers anymore. Oh, another one of these. I'm calling them gorges. Wow, amazing. Yeah. One of the qualities of having anxiety like I do these days is your imagination runs wild, and you can anticipate all these different things happening, which could be a good thing because it actually makes you more cautious. And, like having to do that rock ledge on the dispersed camping National Forest road, my anxiety told me, okay, walk back, measure it, see how tall it is, take pictures from the side, try to see what you're dealing with, measure it the best that you can, So it's like that's where anxiety can actually, I think, help you, because you're taking a lot more precautions that a lot of people, I think, just throw caution to the wind and then they get themselves into trouble. So I guess that would be a good side of anxiety. Because it is very easy for us to imagine when we have anxiety of all the things that could happen, the anticipation. of what this could happen, that could happen. I could probably have been a good disaster specialist because I could foresee all the possible scenarios of things that could go wrong. And in that case, you can plan better for the disasters when you do that. I do have with me a couple of things. My pepper spray and this thing, if you pull the pin out, it makes a piercing sound. I also in my pocket have a couple of little knives. Well, I reached Symbol Bridge, which is the end of the surface trail, but I didn't realize that in order to see the pictographs, you have to navigate this kind of rocky trail down there, and I don't want to do that. So I guess I won't get to see the pictographs after all. But I was reading the plaque here, and it says that hundreds, perhaps thousands of years ago, this lava tube cave was discovered by ancient ancestors of Native Americans. And it was a possible site for vision quests. And so it had spiritual significance, and perhaps they did coming-of-age ceremonies. And so prehistoric visitors documented their presence by painting pictographs on the walls and boulders within the cave. And they're supposed to be pretty well preserved. And they think that the artists themselves, that it was personal to them, so it's kind of hard to know what they mean. So they don't know what the meaning of these are. It was probably something personal to the artist who did the pictograph. But yeah, that's really cool. Well, I made it back safely. A little hotter in this direction. The sun's hitting me full on, but there's a nice breeze, so feels good. I think I tripped 4 times on that trail, catching my balance just in time. That was the most dangerous part of that trail, is it's a very rocky trail, and I kept, but 4 times at least, tripping. Would have really skinned my knees if I fell on those rocks. But yeah, there's my rig over there. I did hear one strange sound out there, which sounded like a yelp. And I thought, coyote or wolf? There is wolf out here in Modoc County. So, it was really close to me, like in a gorge cave area to my right. So I just decided to let off my little piercing sound here to let them know I was there. And not to mess with me, otherwise I'd break their eardrum. Of course, meanwhile, I'm breaking my own. It's pretty loud. Yeah, see all these rocks, you have to really pick your feet up and make sure you're not tripping over anything. It actually was smaller rocks that I was kind of tripping over. Deceivingly small rocks. Well, nobody is around. I'm surprised. It's a Sunday. this, it's a little alien to me because usually everywhere you go in California is overrun with people. It's one of my least favorite things about living in California is the high population here. I mean, can you blame us? I mean, it's great weather, beautiful landscape. It's just a gorgeous place to live with great weather. So that's why. But it's alien to me to not, see people everywhere. And nobody around. Well, I'm trying to get to Fleener Chimneys, but I did not know that it was a gravel road that's pretty washboard. Taking it real slow, but very interesting landscape. This is Fleener's Chimneys. There's supposed to be some really cool looking rocks. I guess those. Look at those craggy rocks. Wow. Oh, I'm not really wearing the right shoes right now. I don't know if I should go up this hill. The views up here are really magnificent, beautiful. Those orange flowers. Beautiful. There haven't been too many mosquitoes here in the high desert, but there's been a lot of flies. A lot of different kinds of flies. Beautiful. I actually think that's the very tip of Mount Shasta right there, the snow-capped tip. I'd love to do more camping around Mount Shasta at some point. These are called chimneys. So I guess these chimneys have an opening somewhere because people have been throwing things down the hole. And in 1990, I'm reading the plaque over there, volunteers had to remove 35 tons of items, trash, whatever, And then I think they ended up filling it, so it couldn't keep happening. I'm not sure where the hole is, but not sure what that is. Huh. I'm standing on a fault right now, the sign said. Oh wait, I actually found the hole. This one's a shallow one. I think there's 3 chimneys, and one of them, the hole was 50 feet deep. And thankfully, I don't see any junk in this one, just rocks. Wow, that's trippy. Look at all the beautiful striations in these rocks, all the different colors. So pretty. Okay, I just discovered another hole on the other chimney. Had to do a bit of climbing to get here. I don't want to drop my phone on there. Looks pretty deep. Slow. It's my last morning here at Lava Beds National Monument, and I'm just driving out the north way and just had to stop to take a look at this. All this lava rock. I see a display over there. I'm gonna walk over there, see what it says, but this is amazing. But this is cool. Oh, that's weird. Beds of lava. Imagine watching hot lava flowing towards you at this spot over 12,000 years ago. The wide variety of eruptions here at Lava Beds and the abundant features left behind make this area an exceptional place to explore volcanic geology. Looks like Devil's Homestead Crossing. Yesterday I visited Fleener, Chimneys, and Skull Cave and Mushpot Cave, and then the visitor center's there. Very cool. It's all over this side as well. Kept going down the road and decided to pull over on this stop called Devil's Homestead. The lava rock just, of course, goes for miles. It's amazing. And these mountains behind me are really pretty too. I was, when I was visiting at the visitor center, they have a nice little historical museum there. Learned a lot there about the Modoc War and Captain Jack Stronghold, which I might visit today. And this display is almost hard to read. And I talked to the ranger and I asked him, what's your favorite time of year here? And he said, between February and April. He said the rabbit brush is blooming, flowers are starting to come out, the birds are here, it's a flyway. And I said, well, are the roads, you know, it snows here, right? And he says, yes, it snows. And sometimes we even get a lot of snow. He said, but that's rare. But the roads would be clear for you and the campground is open, you know, so I'd love to come back in the winter time or early spring. It must be so pretty here with some snow. You know, the sky must just be amazing, and then these expansive views. I love it. I guess this is the sage that you can actually dry and then burn, you know. I think I should take a bunch and let it dry and tie it with some string, and I have my own sage bundle. It really does smell delicious. Got my sage bundle. I'll let that dry out and I will enjoy burning that. Modoc peoples used to burn this sage in their ceremonies. Just, it smells so good. So I'm at Captain Jack's Stronghold. And actually that was a young Modoc Indian leader whose name I can't pronounce, but the white settlers called him Captain Jack. So I'm at Captain Jack's Stronghold, doing the hike to where the Modoc War happened in, I think it was 1872, and lasted for 5 months. Basically, the story is that settlers started to encroach and wanted to farm their cows and homestead, and they lived with the Modoc Indians for a couple of decades. But then the settlers told the government, we want the Modoc people off this land. We want them to be shipped away. So they made the Modocs reluctantly sign a treaty, and that they would move to Klamath, Oregon, to a reservation there. But unfortunately, the reservation was not doing very well. I mean, it was a lot of hardship, and there was clashes between the tribes. And so Captain Jack, the young Modoc leader, decided to take his tribe and go back to their homeland, to the Modoc, to the Lost River. And when the government tried to get him to go back to Oregon, he refused, and then the Modoc War started. And what was amazing about it is there was, I don't know the numbers, but I think there was something like 60 Modoc Indian men. And there were several times that amount in soldiers. And the Modoc Indians were able to really kind of hold their ground for 5 months because they knew this land so well. And they also had kind of a, fortress amongst these lava rocks to have their stronghold. So they were very effective fighters. They had guns at that time. But eventually they had to retreat to the south because the soldiers had cut off their water supply. Now there were women and children and older people with them. I think there was 200 or 300 people. And somehow they slipped away during the night. And for a while, the soldiers didn't understand how they were able to do that, but they found a way because they knew their way. But I don't know what happened to Captain Jack after that and his peoples. But you can see here, like, this is lots of space, lots of spots where you can, like, there was probably, an Modoc Indian fighter right here, and he could shoot down at the soldiers. So it was like a perfect stronghold. Lots of barriers to them getting shot, but a great way to shoot down at the advancing soldiers. So, isn't this kind of like a trench that soldiers use in times of war? This is sort of like a natural trench, basically. The family and the women and the children lived in a cave nearby, somewhere around here. Hello, pretty bird. Hello. But yeah, I can see how this was a great defensive position. It's a sad story, because the Modoc peoples got displaced from their home by the settlers. And, of course, that story was happening all over America, so it's pretty sad. Beautiful views from here. Tool Lake, which is nearby here, used to be something like 100,000 acres wide, but it was drained for farming back in the 1900s. There's Mount Shasta. Beautiful Mount Shasta. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm wondering if the Modoc women and children live down there in that cave area there, perhaps, or over here. Maybe I should have gotten it, but there was a book at the visitor center you could buy for a couple of dollars that talks about each of the different points on the trail. I've seen a few numbers and it told you some history about that point, but I didn't buy it. But yeah, this makes for a great fortress. Yeah, they said something like 60 Indian. Oh my gosh, there's this beautiful butterfly that just landed on my finger. Hello, butterfly. Hello, honey. You're beautiful. Be free, butterfly. Be free. Be free. It won't move. Yeah, this looks like they built a good defense. Like right here. Looks like it was built. Here's another cave that perhaps they might have lived in. Yeah, they would have had to do a lot of rock scrambling. So there in the distance is Tule Lake, I think is how you pronounce it. But it was much bigger at the time of Captain Jack. And this is what Captain Jack was trying to, stay near and reclaim his homeland, was to be near this water. But sadly, he was looking for a peaceful solution, and he favored peace. But some of the other younger warriors wanted to kill a general, and so under pressure, Captain Jack agreed, and so there was a peace meeting, and unfortunately General Canby and a reverend was killed at this peace meeting, and that kind of sealed Captain Jack's fate. Ooh, there's a really big black beetle. Lots of big fire ants here. That sealed his fate because he was captured later and tried by a military tribunal and sentenced to death along with some other Modoc Indians. So pretty tragic story all the way around. Boy, yeah, they said this trail was going to be rough. It definitely was a rough trail. I did not wear the correct shoes for this trail, but I'm doing okay. Just taking it slow. Ooh, there's a bunch of rocky things down here I gotta navigate. Okay, I'm gonna turn off the camera. Geez, when the sign said it was a rough trail, I didn't realize I'm going to have to be doing some climbing and boulder hopping. I had to just come down this little hill. And I have more I gotta climb down. And I'm totally not wearing the right shoes. I was not prepared for this. If you ever come here, wear good shoes, and probably a walking stick would really help. Yeah, I just had to navigate that little hill. Come down this way and down here. Wow, I did it. I hope that's the last of it. Jeez. When I said rocky road, I was just expecting a few rocks. A rough road, that rough trail, I said. That was the roughest trail I think I've ever been on. And it's mind-boggling to me to think that the Modoc Indians would navigate those all very easily with their moccasins or sandals. Quite easily, I'm sure. Still trying to be mindful of snakes. The Forest Service needs to come in here and trim away. The trail's really been overgrown quite a bit. And they need to work on fixing it because it's overgrown. And there's all the agricultural land that I think they drained Tule Lake for. I'm almost back. There's the lazy days. One of the problems for me these days is my balance isn't so good. So I'm glad there's like rocks for me to hold on to when I'm stepping down, because my balance just isn't what it used to be. I was just thinking about how I have a really nice pair of hiking boots and they're at home. Now where does the trail go from here? It's like, this is what I mean. It's totally overgrown. It's hard to see where to go. And I do not like stepping where I cannot see what's underneath. That is very uncomfortable. But I just ran into a couple and they came up this direction, so whatever might have been there probably got scared away. Now look at all this scrambling I have to do. Oh my goodness. Okay. Thank God I'm on the home stretch. I'm kind of embarrassed to show you what the shoes I'm wearing. I tend to put these on all the time because they're just so easy to slip on. That's what I'm wearing. And a couple of times, you know, it's been a little painful because your ankle twists and you don't have anything supporting your ankle. I'm on the home stretch. Yay. Gosh, that was a pretty difficult trail for me. Only half a mile long, but it took longer than I expected. This is where the shore of Tule Lake used to be in 1872. So they were able to obtain water at this point. So it was drained between 1912 and 1958 to make fertile land available for homesteaders. So here is Captain Jack, also known as Campus. Colonel Gillum launched an intense 2-day assault on the Stronghold that cut the Modoc's water supply off, forcing them out on the nights of April 16th, 17th, 1873. 1,000 men would be required to dislodge them from their almost impregnable position. So I've heard between 50 and 60 Modoc warriors were fighting up to 1,000 soldiers. So I just did the inner loop. Yeah, that was very interesting. It's just starting to get warm, so I'm glad I'm back. The next stop I was going to look at was the petroglyphs, but if there's a hike to get to them, I'm not sure if I'm going to do it. Otherwise, I think I got to mosey on. My next stop is Tule Lake, and I'm going to stay at the fairgrounds for the next 4 nights because I'll have hookups and I can turn on my air conditioner because it's going to be in the low 90s this week, unfortunately. So I really want AC. I really suffered yesterday afternoon. I got back to my rig about 5 and I could have turned on the generator, but I didn't feel like it, dealing with the noise. And so it was hot until about 9 p.m. So it was 4 hours of pretty hot. So I don't want to keep going through that. So I'm going to go to a place that has hookups. And like I said before, it's only $18 a night, which is a steal. I got to get some gas and hopefully pick up some groceries, but there's not very many grocery stores around here. And the one that there is, the reviews said that the shelves were half empty, so I'm not sure. I mean, I do have food to last me. There's a few things I'm out of that I'd like to get if I can.